The flashbulb goes off. Frank Sinatra freezes. It's a cold October afternoon in Hoboken, 1947, and the most famous singer in America is standing on a crowded street corner with his hand wrapped around the collar of a man who shouldn't exist. The man is bleeding from the lip. Frank's knuckles are red. And somewhere in the chaos of screaming fans and honking horns, a 12-year-old boy named Tommy Mancini has just captured it all on his father's Kodak Brownie. Frank sees the boy. The boy sees Frank. Their eyes lock for exactly 2 seconds. What happens next will haunt Frank Sinatra for the rest of his life. Not because the photo was published, but because it never was. To understand the weight of that frozen moment, you need to understand 1947. The war was over. The boys were home, and Frank Sinatra was no longer just a singer. He was an institution, the voice. His face was on every magazine cover. His voice poured out of every radio in America. But 1947 was also the year the whispers started getting louder. Stories about Frank's temper, stories about broken friendships and smashed recording equipment. The press loved building idols, but they loved tearing them down even more. And then there was the other thing. The thing nobody printed, but everybody knew. Frank Sinatra had friends in low places, very low places. Hoboken was Frank's hometown. He'd returned that October day for a charity event at the local radio station. A simple appearance. Shake some hands, sign some autographs. Remind the old neighborhood that Francis Albert Sinatra hadn't forgotten where he came from. But Frank Sinatra never forgot anything. And that was the problem. The man on the street corner, the one with the bleeding lip, was named Vincent Falcone. He collected secrets the way other men collected stamps. And he had been collecting secrets about Frank Sinatra since before Frank was famous. What Vincent knew could have ended everything. Frank Sinatra in 1947 was a man made of contradictions. On stage, he was silk, smooth, controlled. He could hold a note until the women in the audience forgot to breathe. But off stage, Frank was gunpowder. His temper was legendary. He had punched photographers. He had thrown chairs at producers. His manager, George Evans, spent half his time putting out fires. "Frank," he would say, "you're not a street kid anymore. You can't solve every problem with your fists." But Frank never listened. Because deep down, beneath the tailored suits and the voice that could break hearts, Frank Sinatra was still Frankie from Hoboken. Still the skinny kid who got pushed around. Still the son of immigrants who had to fight for every scrap of respect. Vincent Falcone knew that kid. And Vincent had something on Frank from the old days. Something Frank had spent years trying to bury. Tommy Mancini didn't know any of this. He was 12 years old. He had saved up for 3 months to buy film for his father's camera. He had pushed through the crowd just to get close enough to take a picture of the voice. What Tommy saw through that viewfinder changed everything. It started with a tap on the shoulder. Frank was working his way through the crowd outside the radio station, smiling, signing autographs, playing the part of the hometown hero. George Evans was 3 feet behind him, keeping an eye on the situation. Everything was going according to plan. And then Frank felt it. A finger, poking him in the back. He turned around, still smiling, expecting a fan. But it wasn't a fan. It was Vincent Falcone. Short, stocky, wearing a cheap overcoat that smelled like cigar smoke. He was grinning, but it wasn't a friendly grin. "Frankie," Vincent said. "Long time no see." The smile froze on Frank's face. "Vincent, what do you want?" "Just wanted to say hello. Welcome you back to the neighborhood." Vincent leaned in closer. "And maybe have a little conversation about old times." Frank's jaw tightened. "I don't have time for conversations." "You'll make time," Vincent's voice dropped to a whisper. "Unless you want me to have a conversation with some newspaper friends of mine. About a certain night in 1939. About a certain warehouse on River Street." Frank's face went pale, then red. His hands curled into fists. George Evans saw the shift. He pushed forward through the crowd. "Frank, we need to go. The car's waiting." But Frank wasn't listening. He was staring at Vincent Falcone with the kind of look that made grown men cross the street. "You're making a mistake, Vincent." Vincent laughed. "Am I? You're the one with everything to lose, Frankie. I'm just a nobody from the old neighborhood. But you're Frank Sinatra, America's sweetheart. What would your fans think if they knew the real you?" That was the moment. Frank grabbed Vincent by the collar and shoved him backward, hard. Vincent stumbled. His back hit a lamppost. Frank's fist came up. And somewhere in the crowd, a camera flash went off. Time stops. Frank's hand is still gripping Vincent's collar. Vincent's lip is split where it hit the lamppost. Blood is trickling down his chin. The crowd around them has gone silent. Everyone is staring. And standing 5 feet away, frozen with the camera still raised to his eye, is Tommy Mancini. The boy is small for his age. Brown hair, freckles, wearing a jacket 2 sizes too big that probably belonged to an older brother. He's looking at Frank Sinatra, and Frank Sinatra is looking at him. The world holds its breath. Frank's first instinct is rage. The flash has blinded him. Someone has just captured the worst possible moment of his life. His career, his reputation, everything he has built, is now sitting inside a cheap camera held by a child. But then Frank sees the boy's eyes, wide, terrified, filling with tears. Tommy Mancini didn't come here to expose anyone. He came here to see his hero. He came here because Frank Sinatra's voice on the radio made him believe that maybe, just maybe, a kid from a poor family could become something. And now he's watching his hero choke a man on a street corner. Frank releases Vincent's collar. The older man stumbles away, coughing, one hand pressed to his bleeding lip. The crowd is murmuring. George Evans is pushing through, calling Frank's name. But Frank ignores all of it. He walks toward the boy. Tommy takes a step back. His hands are shaking. The camera is trembling. Frank kneels down. He's at eye level with the kid now. He can see the tears about to fall. "Hey," Frank says. His voice is soft, the voice he uses on ballads. "What's your name?" Tommy. The word comes out barely above a whisper. "Tommy." Frank nods slowly. "That's a good name. My grandfather was named Tommaso." The boy doesn't respond. He's still clutching the camera like it might protect him. Frank reaches out, not for the camera, for the boy's shoulder. He squeezes gently. "You like taking pictures, Tommy?" A small nod. "That's a nice camera. Your dad's?" Another nod. Frank is quiet for a moment. The crowd is watching. George Evans has stopped pushing. Even Vincent Falcone is frozen, blood still dripping from his chin. "Tommy," Frank says finally, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Can you do that?" The boy nods. "Did you come here today because you like my music?" "Yes, sir." The words come out in a rush. "I listen to you on the radio every night. I know all your songs. I wanted to take a picture to show my friends that I really saw you." Frank's face softens. Something in his eyes changes. The anger drains away, and what's left is something that looks almost like shame. "Tommy, what you just saw, that wasn't me. That was someone I'm trying not to be anymore. Do you understand?" The boy doesn't answer. He's just staring at Frank with those wide, innocent eyes. Frank takes a deep breath. "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you keep that camera, I'm going to let you keep that picture, and I'm going to trust you to decide what to do with it. George Evans steps forward. Frank, wait. But Frank holds up a hand. He's still looking at Tommy. You could take that picture to the newspapers. You could probably get some money for it. And it would hurt me. It would hurt me a lot. Frank pauses. But I'm not going to threaten you. I'm not going to bribe you. I'm going to trust you. Because I think you're the kind of kid who understands that people make mistakes. Tommy's hands have stopped shaking. He looks down at the camera, then back up at Frank. Mr. Sinatra? Yeah, kid? Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you hit that man? The question hangs in the air. Frank looks over his shoulder at Vincent Falcone, who is being helped away by someone from the crowd. Then he looks back at Tommy. Because I was scared, Frank says quietly. And when I get scared, I do stupid things. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. Tommy considers this for a long moment. Then he opens the back of the camera. He pulls out the film, and he hands it to Frank Sinatra. I don't want to hurt you, Mr. Sinatra, the boy says. I just wanted to see you sing. Frank takes the film. His hand is trembling. He looks at the small brown roll in his palm, at the evidence that could have destroyed him, freely given by a child who expected nothing in return. Tommy, Frank says, his voice thick. Would you let me do something for you? The boy shrugs. Frank reaches into his jacket and pulls out a business card. He writes something on the back. This is the address of my recording studio in New York. Next summer, I want you to come visit. I'll give you a tour. I'll let you take all the pictures you want. And I'll make sure you get the best. Seat in the house for any show you want to see. Deal? Tommy's face lights up. For the first time, he smiles. Deal, Mr. Sinatra. Frank stands up. He ruffles the boy's hair. And then, without another word, he walks to the waiting car. George Evans follows, stunned into silence. The crowd watches Frank Sinatra drive away. Vincent Falcone is already gone. And Tommy Mancini stands alone on the sidewalk, holding a business card that will change the course of his life. The photograph was never published. The film was never developed. Frank Sinatra kept that small brown roll in his desk drawer for the rest of his life. Vincent Falcone disappeared from Hoboken within the week. Nobody asked too many questions. But what happened to Tommy Mancini is the real story. The next summer, true to his word, Frank invited Tommy to New York. The boy got his tour. He got his pictures. And he got something else. A mentor. Frank took an interest in Tommy's education. He paid for high school. He paid for college. Tommy Mancini became a photographer. Not for newspapers. For life. He spent 40 years documenting ordinary people in extraordinary moments. His work appeared in galleries. And every interview he ever gave, he told the same story. The story of the day he almost destroyed Frank Sinatra. And the day Frank Sinatra chose to trust a 12-year-old kid. He could have taken the camera, Tommy said in 1989. He could have had his people make me disappear. But instead, he knelt down and talked to me like I was a person. He trusted me with his career. And that trust changed who I became. Frank never spoke publicly about that day. But people close to him said it changed something in him. A recognition that power wasn't just about what you could take. It was about what you could give. In 1971, Tommy photographed Frank's retirement concert. Frank saw the photo and called Tommy personally. You always did have a good eye, kid. I learned from the best, Mr. Sinatra. Frank laughed. I taught you how to take pictures? No, Tommy said. "You taught me that people are more than their worst moments." This story isn't about a photograph. It's not even about Frank Sinatra. It's about a choice. The choice to trust when trust makes no sense. The choice to see a person instead of a threat. Frank Sinatra was not a perfect man. His flaws were legendary. His temper was explosive. But on that cold October afternoon in 1947, he did something remarkable. He looked at his own destruction in the hands of a child, and instead of grabbing, he asked, "That's the part we forget about power. Real power isn't about control. It's about restraint. It's about recognizing that the person standing in front of you might see something you can't see about yourself." Tommy Mancini saw a hero on that street corner. And for one moment, Frank Sinatra decided to become the person that child believed him to be. Most of us will never face that kind of moment. But we face smaller versions of it every day. Every time someone sees us at our worst. Every time a child watches us lose our temper. What will you do with that moment? This was the story the headlines never told. The story of a photograph that could have ended Frank Sinatra and the 12-year-old fan who chose to save him. This was Frank Sinatra. Legacy Confidential. If this story changed how you see Sinatra, hit like and share it with someone who believes that people can surprise you. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. The legends of the Golden Age had more secrets than we ever knew. And tell us in the comments, what do you think is harder, asking for trust or giving it? Until next time.